Captain Jake Morrison sat in the control room of the Arecibo Observatory, watching the computer screens show nothing but empty space signals. It was 3 in the morning, and most of the world was sleeping. Jake had been working the night shift for 2 years now, listening to radio waves from distant stars. He never expected to hear anything important. Then the signal came out. It started as a soft beeping sound, different from the usual background noise. Jake sat up straight and adjusted his headphones. The sound was getting stronger. He pressed buttons on his control panel, trying to understand what he was hearing. The computer screens began showing patterns he had never seen before. "This is not natural," Jake said to himself. He reached for his phone and called Dr. Lisa Carter, the head scientist at NASA who studied alien life. She answered on the third ring, sounding sleepy. "Jake, it's 3 in the morning. This better be important. Lisa, you need to get here, right? Now, I think we're receiving a signal from space. A real signal, from something intelligent." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Are you sure? How do you know it's not just equipment failure?" "Because the signal is repeating the same pattern over and over. And Lisa, it's getting stronger. Whatever is sending this is getting closer to Earth." Within an hour, Lisa arrived at the observatory. With her team, they worked quickly to decode the signal. By sunrise, they had translated the message. The words appeared on the computer screen in perfect English. "People of Earth, this is the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your planet immediately. You have no choice in this matter. Prepare for our arrival." Lisa felt her stomach drop. She called General Pete Sullivan at the Pentagon right away. The general answered his phone in his office, where he had been working all night on other military matters. "General Sullivan speaking." "General, this is Dr. Lisa Carter from NASA. We have a situation. We've received a message from space. From aliens. They're demanding that Earth surrender." There was silence on the phone. Then General Sullivan said, "Dr. Carter, are you absolutely certain about this?" "Yes, sir. The signal is real. The message is clear. And based on our readings, they're already in our solar system." General Sullivan hung up and immediately called President Tony Martinez. Within 2 hours, emergency meetings were happening in government buildings around the world. Leaders tried to stay calm while scientists worked to learn more about these aliens. At noon, the aliens arrived. Large ships appeared in the sky above every major city on Earth. The ships were beautiful and strange, made of what looked like crystal and metal mixed together. They were huge, bigger than any building, and they floated in the air without making any sound. The ships hung over New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and dozens of other cities. People came out of their homes and offices to look up at the sky. Some screamed. Others took pictures with their phones. Many just stood there, unable to believe what they were seeing. Admiral Karen Davis was in the Pentagon when the ships appeared. She had been in the military for 20 years and had seen many dangerous situations, but nothing like this. She watched the news reports showing the alien ships and felt afraid for the first time in her career. "All units, this is Admiral Davis," she said into her radio. "We have unknown aircraft over major cities. Do not engage unless they fire first. Repeat, do not engage unless fired upon." But the military's weapons were useless anyway. When fighter jets flew near the alien ships, invisible shields stopped all missiles and bullets. The aliens demonstrated their power by shooting precise energy beams at military bases. The beams destroyed weapons and equipment, but did not hurt any people. It was a clear message. "We could kill you all if we wanted to, but we prefer you alive. In the afternoon, the aliens made contact with world leaders. Holographic images appeared in government buildings around the world. The aliens looked like tall, thin humans, but with longer arms and legs. Their skin was pale, and slightly see-through. They moved in a slow, graceful way that seemed almost like dancing. The alien who spoke to President Martinez called himself Commander Veltar. He stood 7 feet tall and spoke English perfectly. "President Martinez," Commander Veltar said, "I represent the Zephyrian Empire. We have traveled far to reach your world. Earth has resources that our empire needs. Your people will not be harmed if you surrender peacefully." President Martinez tried to remain calm. "Commander, perhaps we can negotiate. Earth is willing to share resources, but we cannot simply surrender our entire planet." Commander Veltar shook his head slowly. "There is nothing to negotiate. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons cannot harm us. You have 72 hours to surrender completely, or we will take your planet by force." The hologram disappeared, leaving President Martinez alone in the Oval Office dot around the world. Similar conversations were happening with other leaders. The aliens were polite but firm. Earth would surrender, or Earth would be conquered. That evening, Dr. Lisa Carter sat in her lab studying video footage of the aliens. Something about them bothered her, but she could not figure out what it was. She watched the recordings over and over, paying attention to how they moved. "They're so graceful," she said to her assistant, Dr. Alan Foster. "Almost like they're floating." "Maybe that's just how they evolved," Alan replied. "Different planets, different gravity." Lisa stopped the video and looked at Alan. "Different gravity," she repeated slowly. "Alan, what if their planet has much less gravity than Earth?" "What do you mean?" "Look at how they move. It's not just graceful. It's careful. Like they're being very deliberate about every step." Lisa rewound the video again. "What if Earth's gravity is actually difficult for them?" Alan watched the footage with new eyes. "You might be onto something, Lisa. If they evolved on a low-gravity world, then Earth's gravity would be like wearing heavy weights all the time." Lisa felt excitement growing in her chest. Maybe the aliens were not as invincible as they seemed. Maybe Earth had an advantage that no one had thought about yet. She picked up her phone to call General Sullivan. "General, I think I might have found something important about our visitors." Dr. Lisa Carter arrived at the Pentagon early the next morning with her research files. General Sullivan met her in a secure conference room, along with Captain Jake Morrison and several other military officers. Lisa spread photos and video footage across the table. "General, I believe the aliens have a weakness," Lisa began. "Look at these images carefully. Notice how they move." General Sullivan picked up a photo showing Commander Veltar during the holographic meeting. "They look normal to me. Tall, but normal." "That's exactly the point," Lisa said. "They move too carefully. Every step is planned. Every gesture is slow and controlled. I think they're struggling with Earth's gravity." Captain Morrison leaned forward. "You mean our gravity is too strong for them?" "Exactly. If they evolved on a planet with much weaker gravity, then being on Earth is like carrying heavy weights all day long. Their bodies aren't built for this kind of gravitational pull." General Sullivan thought about this. "If you're right, how do we test it? We can't exactly ask them to take off their equipment and run around." "We need to observe them outside their ships," Lisa said. "We need to see how they behave when they're actually walking on Earth's surface." That afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Brooks got his chance. His unit was stationed in Chicago when alien ships began landing in Grant Park. Brooks and his soldiers hid in nearby buildings and watched through binoculars as the aliens set up what looked like a command post. What Brooks saw surprised him. The aliens moved very slowly as they left their ships. Each one wore a belt around their waist that glowed with blue light. When they walked, they took small, careful steps. One alien stumbled slightly on the grass and had to grab onto another alien to steady himself. "Sergeant Rodriguez, are you seeing this?" Brooks whispered into his radio. "Yes, sir." They're moving, like old people in a nursing home. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez replied from her position across the park. Brooks watched for 2 hours. The aliens were clearly having trouble. They avoided walking on uneven ground. When they had to climb the small steps to set up their equipment, they moved very slowly and held onto railings. Most importantly, every 30 minutes, they returned to their ship for what looked like a break. Brooks called General Sullivan immediately. "General, Dr. Carter was right. These aliens are struggling. They can barely walk normally, and they keep going back to their ships like they need to rest." "Are you certain, Colonel?" "Absolutely, sir. And there's something else. Those glowing belts they wear? I think those are helping them deal with our gravity." When one alien's belt stopped glowing for a moment, he nearly fell over. Back at NASA, Dr. Carter worked with her team to analyze pieces of alien equipment that had been damaged during the military demonstrations. Dr. Alan Foster, a physicist, examined the technology while engineer Susan Wright tried to understand how it worked. "Lisa, this is incredible," Alan said, looking through a microscope. "This technology is designed to create artificial gravity fields. But look at these energy readings." Susan pulled up data on her computer. The power consumption is enormous. "These devices are using more energy than a small car just to keep one alien comfortable." "That makes sense," Lisa said. "If they evolved. In low gravity, they need constant technological help to function on Earth. And that help is expensive in terms of energy." The next day brought more evidence. Around the world, alien forces were setting up bases and beginning their occupation of Earth. But reports from every location told the same story. The aliens moved slowly, avoided difficult terrain, and frequently returned to their ships. In London, Commander Paul Stevens watched aliens try to patrol the underground subway system. They had to stop and rest every few minutes. When they encountered stairs, they moved one step at a time, holding on to the walls for support. In Tokyo, Colonel Yuki Tanaka observed that aliens completely avoided the hilly parts of the city. They stayed in flat areas and used their flying vehicles whenever possible. Dr. Carter compiled all these reports and made a presentation for world leaders. President Martinez, along with Prime Minister Robert Clark from Britain and other heads of state, listened through a secure video conference. "The evidence is clear," Lisa explained. "The aliens' greatest strength in space is their greatest weakness on Earth. They have incredible technology, but their bodies simply cannot handle our planet's gravity without constant mechanical help." President Martinez asked, "What does this mean for our defense strategy?" General Sullivan answered, "It means we need to change how we fight. Instead of trying to match their technology, we should use Earth itself as a weapon. We force them to fight in places where gravity makes them weak." "How do we do that?" asked Prime Minister Clark. "Mountains, stairs, uneven ground, anywhere that requires physical effort," General Sullivan explained. "Places where humans have advantages, because we grew up in this gravity." Meanwhile, the aliens were having their own meetings. Commander Veltar stood in his ship's command center, reviewing reports from ground forces. The holographic displays showed that operations were behind schedule. "Commander, our forces are reporting higher than expected energy consumption," reported Subcommander Kylth. "The gravity compensation equipment is working harder than our calculations predicted." "What is the cause?" Veltar asked. "This planet's gravitational field is stronger than most worlds we have conquered. Our soldiers are experiencing fatigue more quickly than normal. Some have requested additional rest periods." Veltar looked at the reports with concern. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered dozens of worlds, but most had been low-gravity planets similar to their homeworld. Earth was different. "How long can our equipment continue operating at these energy levels?" Veltar asked. "At current consumption rates, perhaps one Earth month before we need to return to the fleet for equipment replacement and energy recharging. This was not what Veltar wanted to hear. The conquest of Earth was supposed to take only 2 weeks. Back on Earth, Dr. Carter was making another important discovery. She had been analyzing intercepted alien communications with the help of Captain Morrison's team at Arecibo Observatory. "Jake, listen to this," Lisa said, playing a recorded alien transmission. "They're talking about operational sustainability and gravitational stress factors. They're having problems they didn't expect." Jake nodded. "And look at this pattern in their ship movements. Every 6 hours, the ground-based ships return to high altitude. I think they're rotating their crews to give them breaks from Earth's gravity. This is better than we hoped," Lisa said. "They're not just uncomfortable. They're actually having trouble maintaining their invasion because of our gravity." That evening, Sergeant Rodriguez led a small reconnaissance mission in downtown Chicago. Her job was to test Dr. Carter's theory about alien weaknesses. She chose a route through the city that included several flights of stairs, uneven sidewalks, and a pedestrian bridge. Rodriguez and her team followed a patrol of 6 aliens from a distance. What she saw confirmed everything Dr. Carter had predicted. The aliens struggled with the stairs, moving one step at a time. On uneven sidewalks, they walked very slowly and carefully. When they reached the pedestrian bridge, they stopped and seemed to have a discussion before deciding to go around it instead of climbing up and over. "Base, this is Rodriguez," she radioed back to headquarters. "The aliens are avoiding anything that requires effort. They're acting like the gravity is hurting them." "Copy that, Rodriguez. Return to base immediately." As Rodriguez and her team made their way back, she noticed something else. The aliens were not just slow. They looked tired. Even with their advanced equipment helping them, walking around Earth for a few hours seemed to exhaust them. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Rodriguez felt hope. These invaders might have better technology, but they were fighting a battle against Earth itself. And Earth was winning. Dr. Lisa Carter stood before a room full of world leaders connected by secure video links. President Martinez sat at the head of the table in Washington, while Prime Minister Robert Clark appeared on screen from London, and other leaders joined from their capitals around the globe. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lisa began, "we have discovered the aliens' weakness. They cannot handle Earth's gravity. I propose we use this against them." President Martinez leaned forward. "Dr. Carter, explain." "Exactly what you mean." Lisa clicked a button, and images appeared on the screens showing alien movements from around the world. Every piece of evidence shows the same thing. The aliens struggle with our gravity. They move slowly, avoid difficult terrain, and need constant rest. Their technology helps them, but it costs enormous amounts of energy. General Sullivan joined the presentation. "Based on Dr. Carter's findings, we've developed Operation Heavy Strike. Instead of fighting their technology, we fight them where gravity gives us the advantage." Prime Minister Clark asked, "What kind of locations are you talking about?" "Mountains, underground tunnels, tall buildings, anywhere that requires climbing or rapid movement," General Sullivan explained. "Places where humans feel normal but aliens will struggle." The President of France spoke up from Paris. "This sounds risky. What if it doesn't work?" "Sir, our conventional weapons have already failed," General Sullivan replied. "This is our best chance." President Martinez made the decision. "We'll try it. Dr. Carter, how quickly can you prepare detailed recommendations?" "Give me 24 hours, Mr. President." The next morning, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Brooks received orders to test the new strategy. His unit was sent to the Rocky Mountains near Denver, where aliens had established a monitoring station. Brooks chose his most experienced mountain fighters and equipped them with climbing gear. "Listen up," Brooks told his team. "We're going to fight these aliens on terrain that favors us. Stay light, move fast, and use the mountains against them. The alien station sat on a plateau that could only be reached by climbing steep, rocky paths. Brooks and his team approached from multiple directions, forcing the aliens to defend against attacks coming from above and below. That difference was immediate and dramatic. The alien soldiers moved like they were walking through thick mud. Their anti-gravity belts glowed brighter as they worked harder to compensate for the difficult terrain. When Brooks's team forced them to climb or jump between rocks, several aliens fell behind, breathing heavily despite their advanced life support systems. "This is incredible," radioed Sergeant Martinez, who was attacking from the eastern approach. "They can barely keep up. It's like they're carrying 100-pound backpacks." The battle lasted only 2 hours. The aliens had superior weapons, but they could not move quickly enough to use them effectively. When human soldiers jumped from rock to rock or climbed quickly up cliff faces, the aliens could not follow. Eventually, the alien force retreated to their ship and left the area. Brooks radioed back to headquarters. "Mission successful. The aliens could not handle the mountain terrain. We didn't just win, we dominated." Meanwhile, Dr. Alan Foster made an important discovery in his lab. He had been studying captured alien equipment and found a critical weakness in their gravity compensation technology. "Lisa, look at this," Alan said, showing her a damaged alien belt. "Their gravity systems are designed for gradual changes. If you force them to adjust quickly, like jumping or falling, the systems can't keep up." Susan Wright, the engineer, examined the data. The compensation field takes almost 2 seconds to adjust to rapid movement. For those 2 seconds, the alien experiences full Earth gravity with no help. "What does that mean, practically?" Lisa asked. "It means if we can force them to move quickly or suddenly, their own equipment becomes a liability," Susan explained. "Imagine wearing a 100-pound weight that sometimes disappears and sometimes comes back. You'd lose your balance constantly." Lisa immediately called General Sullivan with this information. Within hours, the new data was being shared with resistance fighters around the world. In London, Commander Paul Stevens received the information and put it to immediate use. His team had been fighting aliens in the underground subway system. Now, instead of trying to outgun them, Stevens focused on forcing rapid movement. "We jump the turnstiles, run up and down stairs, leap between train cars," Stevens told his team. "Make them follow us through movements their equipment can't handle quickly." The tactic worked perfectly. When Stevens's team jumped over subway turnstiles, the aliens trying to follow stumbled as their gravity belts struggled to adjust. When the humans ran upstairs 2 at a time, aliens lost their balance and fell. The aliens' advanced weapons meant nothing when they could not stay upright long enough to aim. In Tokyo, Colonel Yuki Tanaka used the city's many tall buildings to similar effect. Her teams moved through office buildings, forcing aliens to chase them up and down stairwells, through narrow hallways, and across rooftops. The aliens, weighed down by Earth's gravity and struggling with their failing compensation equipment, could not keep up. Captain Jake Morrison coordinated communications between resistance cells worldwide, sharing successful tactics through encrypted radio networks. Reports came in from every continent showing the same results. When humans fought on terrain that required quick movement and balance, the aliens could not compete. Dr. Carter's team made another breakthrough when they successfully modified captured alien technology. Working around the clock, Susan Wright and Dr. Foster created what they called gravity bombs, devices that created sudden changes in local gravitational fields. "These aren't weapons in the traditional sense," Susan explained to General Sullivan. "They don't explode or shoot. Instead, they create rapid fluctuations in gravity that overload alien equipment." The first test of a gravity bomb took place in the Nevada desert. A small alien patrol was moving across flat ground when Susan activated the device from a safe distance. Suddenly, the aliens stumbled and fell as their gravity belts tried to compensate for rapidly changing gravitational fields. 2 aliens collapsed completely when their equipment overloaded and shut down. "It works," Susan radioed excitedly. "Their compensation systems can't handle rapid changes. We can literally turn their own technology against them." Word of humanities. Successes began to spread among the alien forces. Intercepted communications showed growing concern among Zephyrian commanders. Troops were reporting equipment failures, physical exhaustion, and difficulty completing missions. Commander Veltar called an emergency meeting with his senior officers aboard the main command ship orbiting Earth. "Our ground operations are falling behind schedule," Veltar announced. "Forces are reporting higher than acceptable casualty rates and equipment failure rates." Sub-Commander Kylth presented the data. "Sir, our soldiers are experiencing what they describe as crushing fatigue. Many are requesting reassignment to orbital duties to escape what they call the heavy world. How are the humans able to move so effectively in this environment?" asked another officer. "They evolved here," Kylth replied. "This gravity is normal for them. What exhausts us is easy for them." Veltar studied the reports with growing concern. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered many worlds, but they had always chosen planets similar to their home world. Earth was different. Earth was fighting back. On Earth, the tide was beginning to turn. Admiral Karen Davis coordinated the largest human counteroffensive yet, Operation Groundfall. Simultaneously, human forces engaged aliens in gravitationally challenging environments on 6 continents. In the Swiss Alps, Captain Morrison led an international force against a major alien base, using mountaineering tactics and Dr. Foster's gravity bombs. They forced alien defenders to fight on steep slopes and cliff faces. The aliens' advanced weapons became useless when their operators could barely stand upright. In the Amazon rainforest, Brazilian forces used the dense jungle canopy to force aliens into constant climbing and jumping between trees. The aliens' equipment overheated from the constant gravitational compensation required. In the Himalayas, mountain climbers turned soldiers led aliens on chases up steep mountain paths where the thin air and extreme terrain made movement almost impossible for beings struggling with Earth's gravity. Each battle told the same story. When humans chose the battlefield, they won. Earth's gravity, which had shaped human evolution for millions of years, was now humanity's greatest weapon against invaders from the stars. As reports of successful operations reached resistance fighters worldwide, morale soared. For the first time since the invasion began, humans were not just surviving, they were winning. News of the successful gravity-based tactics spread across the globe faster than the aliens could stop it. Resistance movements on every continent began adapting their strategies to exploit the invaders' gravitational weakness. What had started as a desperate theory from Dr. Lisa Carter was now becoming a coordinated global defense strategy. In the Australian outback, Major Bill Thompson worked with local Aboriginal guides who knew the rough terrain better than anyone. The red desert landscape, filled with rocky hills, deep canyons, and uneven ground, became a nightmare for alien patrols trying to establish control over the continent's interior. "The aliens stick to flat ground," explained Charlie, an Aboriginal tracker who had joined Thompson's unit. "They won't go into the rocky areas where we grew up playing." Thompson's combined force of Australian military and indigenous guides used this knowledge to devastating effect. They led alien patrols into increasingly difficult terrain, where every step was a struggle for beings whose bodies evolved under much weaker gravity. The aliens' hover vehicles, designed for smooth planetary surfaces, struggled with the sudden elevation changes and rocky outcroppings that Australian forces navigated easily. It's like watching city people try to walk through a construction site in high heels. radioed one of Thompson's soldiers after watching an alien patrol stumble through a particularly rough canyon. Meanwhile, Dr. Carter's research team achieved another major breakthrough. Engineer Susan Wright had been working non-stop to improve their gravity bombs, and her latest creation was far more effective than the original prototypes. General Sullivan, we've developed what we're calling gravity pulse grenades, Susan explained, during a video conference from her lab. They're small enough for soldiers to carry, and they create rapid gravitational fluctuations in a 15-foot radius. Dr. Alan Foster demonstrated the device using a captured alien gravity belt in the lab. When Susan activated the pulse grenade, the alien equipment sparked and shut down completely. The rapid changes overwhelmed their compensation systems. Alan explained, "It's like plugging a small appliance into a power line designed for a factory. The equipment just can't handle it." General Sullivan immediately ordered mass production of the new devices. Within 72 hours, gravity pulse grenades were being distributed to resistance fighters around the world. The first major test came in the Swiss Alps, where Captain Jake Morrison led an international force against the largest alien base established on Earth. The base sat in a valley surrounded by steep mountain slopes, and the aliens had chosen the location specifically because it seemed defensible with their air superiority. They had not counted on humans, who were comfortable fighting in vertical terrain. Morrison's force included mountain climbers from Switzerland, Norway, and Nepal, who had volunteered for the mission. These men and women had spent their lives climbing in conditions that would challenge even other humans. For them, moving quickly across steep, rocky terrain was natural. "Remember," Morrison told his team before the attack, "we're not trying to outshoot them. We're trying to outmove them. Use the mountains. Make them chase us uphill, downhill, across cliff faces, anywhere their equipment has to work overtime." The assault began at dawn. Human fighters approached the alien base from 6 different directions, all involving steep climbs that forced the aliens to fight while struggling against Earth's gravity. The aliens had positioned their defenses, assuming attackers would come across the flat valley floor. Instead, humans dropped down from above, climbed up from below, and attacked from cliff faces the aliens had thought were impossible to scale. The gravity pulse grenades proved devastating. When thrown into groups of alien defenders, the devices caused immediate equipment failures. Aliens who had been moving carefully but steadily suddenly found themselves experiencing Earth's full gravitational pull without any technological assistance. Many collapsed under their own weight, unable to move until their backup systems activated. Target down, radioed Sergeant Maria Rodriguez as she watched an alien soldier fall to his knees when his gravity belt failed. The pulse grenades work even better than expected. The battle lasted 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. By noon, the alien base was abandoned, and the surviving alien forces had retreated to their ships and left the area entirely. Morrison's success in Switzerland inspired similar operations worldwide. In Mexico City, Sergeant Rodriguez developed urban warfare tactics specifically designed to exploit gravitational advantages. Her teams moved through the city's hilly neighborhoods, using building-to-building movement that required constant climbing, jumping between rooftops, and navigating steep staircases. "The aliens can't keep up," Rodriguez reported after a successful operation in the historic district. "We jump from building to building like we're playing a children's game, but for them, every jump is like carrying a refrigerator on their backs." Her tactics proved so effective that urban resistance fighters from around the world began copying them. In San Francisco, fighters used the city's famous steep hills to exhaust alien patrols. In Rio de Janeiro, resistance teams led aliens through the mountainous favelas where every street required constant uphill and downhill movement. A psychological impact on the alien forces became clear when intelligence teams intercepted increasingly desperate communications between Zephyrian units and their command ships. Captain Morrison, working with his team at Arecibo Observatory, translated one particularly revealing message. Request immediate extraction. Unit experiencing severe equipment strain and personnel exhaustion. Cannot maintain operational effectiveness on crushing world surface. Recommend suspension of ground operations until gravity compensation technology can be improved. Crushing world, Dr. Carter repeated when she heard the translation. That's what they're calling Earth now. The aliens' morale problems were becoming serious. Multiple units were reporting equipment failures, physical exhaustion, and requests for reassignment to orbital duties. Some Zephyrian soldiers were refusing orders to deploy to Earth's surface, claiming their equipment was insufficient for heavy world operations. Admiral Karen Davis saw an opportunity. Working with military leaders worldwide, she planned the largest human offensive of the war, Operation Heavyweight. The plan called for simultaneous attacks on alien positions across all continents, each designed to force the invaders to fight in gravitationally challenging environments. We're going to hit them everywhere at once, Davis explained to President Martinez and other world leaders during a secure video conference. Every battle will be fought on terrain that favors humans. Mountains, canyons, tall buildings, underground tunnels, anywhere that makes them work against Earth's gravity. President Martinez approved the operation immediately. Admiral, you have whatever resources you need. It's time to show these invaders that Earth fights back. Operation Heavyweight began at midnight, Greenwich Mean Time. Across 6 continents, human forces simultaneously engaged alien positions in carefully chosen locations that maximized gravitational stress on the invaders. In the Rocky Mountains, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Rooks led his mountain warfare specialists against alien communication arrays positioned on high peaks. The aliens had placed their equipment there for good radio coverage, but they had not considered that defending such positions would require constant movement across steep, rocky terrain. In the Amazon basin, Brazilian special forces worked with local river guides to force alien patrols into swampy areas where every step was uncertain and required constant balance adjustments that overwhelmed alien gravity compensation systems. In the Sahara Desert, combined forces from multiple African nations used the shifting sand dunes to their advantage. The aliens' equipment worked well on solid ground, but struggled to compensate for the constantly changing surface of wind-blown sand. In the Himalayas, mountain climbers turned guerrilla fighters led alien forces on chases up steep mountain paths, where the thin air and extreme elevation made movement a struggle even for humans, but nearly impossible for aliens dependent on gravity compensation technology. Each engagement told the same story. When humans chose the battlefield, they won decisively. The aliens' technological superiority meant nothing when they could barely move effectively in Earth's gravitational field, but the most significant victory came in an unexpected place. Dr. Carter, monitoring alien communications from her lab, intercepted a message that changed everything. Jake, listen to this, she called Captain Morrison over to her computer. This is a transmission from Commander Veltar to the main Zephyrian fleet. The translated message appeared on screen. Ground operations unsustainable. Energy costs exceed. Mission parameters. Request permission to implement orbital bombardment protocol rather than continue surface conquest attempts. Morrison read the message twice. Lisa, I think we're winning. They're asking permission to give up on landing and just bomb us from space instead. That's exactly what this means, Carter replied excitedly. They can't conquer Earth because they can't handle fighting on Earth's surface. We've turned our own planet into a fortress they can't penetrate. For the first time since the invasion began, humans around the world had reason to hope. Earth's gravity, the force that had kept humanity bound to their P. Commander Veltar stood in his command ship high above Earth, studying the reports from his ground forces with growing frustration. In 40 years of military service and dozens of planetary conquests, he had never faced a situation like this. The humans were not defeating his forces through superior technology or military strategy. They were winning by simply being comfortable in their own environment. Sub-Commander Kylth, what is the current status of our ground operations? Veltar asked. Kylth looked uncomfortable as he delivered his report. Sir, we have lost operational control of 73% of targeted surface positions. Equipment failure rates are at 45%. Personnel are requesting orbital rotation every 4 hours instead of the standard 12 hours. And our energy consumption? Running at 340% of projected levels, sir. At this rate, we will need to withdraw to the fleet for resupply within 10 Earth days, not the planned 60 days. Veltar turned to look at the blue and green planet below. Earth was beautiful, rich in resources, and home to billions of humans who would make excellent workers for the Zephyrian Empire. But none of that mattered if his forces could not actually control the planet's surface. Sir, Kylth continued, hesitantly, many of our soldiers are calling Earth the crushing world. Morale is becoming a serious problem. On Earth's surface, Dr. Lisa Carter was putting the finishing touches on humanity's greatest scientific achievement of the war, working with engineer Susan Wright and physicist Dr. Alan Foster. She had developed gravitational amplification technology using modified alien equipment. The beauty of this system, Susan explained to General Sullivan during a demonstration, is that it uses the aliens' own technology against them. We're not creating artificial gravity. We're amplifying Earth's natural gravitational field. The device looked simple enough. A metallic cylinder about the size of a trash can, covered. In alien technology, it glowed with a soft blue light. But its effects were remarkable. Watch this, Dr. Foster said, activating the device. He threw a baseball into the air above the machine. Instead of following a normal arc, the ball fell faster and harder, hitting the ground with much more force than it should have. We can amplify local gravity by up to 150%, Carter explained. For humans, that's uncomfortable but manageable. For aliens who are already struggling with normal Earth gravity, it becomes impossible to function. General Sullivan smiled for the first time in weeks. How many of these devices can you build, and how quickly? We're already in production, Susan replied. We should have 50 units ready for deployment within 24 hours. The gravitational amplifiers were first deployed in the most critical battle of the war. Intelligence reports showed that the aliens were planning a massive assault on Washington, D.C., using their largest ground force yet assembled. They intended to capture world leaders and force a final surrender. General Sullivan had other plans. He chose the battlefield carefully, the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Using carefully coordinated intelligence leaks, human forces made it appear that President Martinez and other world leaders were hiding in a secret facility at the bottom of the canyon. Commander Veltar took the bait. Desperate for a decisive victory that would end the costly ground war, he committed his largest and best-equipped force to the operation. Thousands of Zephyrian soldiers descended into the Grand Canyon, their anti-gravity equipment working at maximum power to help them navigate the steep cliff faces and rocky terrain. They had no idea they were walking into humanity's most carefully planned trap. Captain Jake Morrison coordinated the operation from a hidden command post on the canyon's rim. Dr. Carter and her team had positioned gravitational amplifiers throughout the canyon floor, hidden among the rocks and desert vegetation. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Brooks led human forces equipped with climbing gear and gravity pulse grenades down multiple canyon walls simultaneously. All units, this is Morrison. the captain radioed. "The aliens are committed to the canyon floor. Activate amplifiers on my mark." Below, thousands of alien soldiers moved carefully across the canyon bottom, their gravity compensation equipment glowing brightly as it worked to counteract Earth's pull. They had no warning when Dr. Carter activated the amplification field. Suddenly, the aliens experienced gravity nearly twice as strong as normal Earth conditions. Soldiers who had been moving slowly but steadily collapsed under their own weight. Equipment designed to compensate for standard Earth gravity overloaded instantly. Anti-gravity belts sparked and failed throughout the alien formation. "Amplifiers active," Carter reported. "Gravitational field at 150% normal." The effect was devastating. Alien soldiers found themselves unable to move, pinned to the canyon. Floor by gravitational force their bodies and equipment could not handle. Those who tried to stand fell immediately. Their advanced weapons became useless because they could not lift them. Rooks and his human fighters descended the canyon walls like mountain goats, moving easily despite the increased gravity that was crushing their enemies below. Humans had evolved under Earth's gravitational pull. A 50% increase was challenging but manageable. For the aliens, it was impossible. "This is incredible," radioed Sergeant Maria Rodriguez as she rappelled down a cliff face toward the trapped alien force. "They can't even lift their heads off the ground. It's like they're glued to the canyon floor." The battle was over in less than 2 hours. The entire alien ground force was captured or forced to retreat. Most importantly, news of the defeat spread rapidly through alien communication networks. On his command ship, Commander Veltar received the devastating report from the canyon. His largest and best-equipped ground force had been completely destroyed by an enemy that had somehow made gravity even stronger than normal. "Sir," Sub-Commander Kyle Page reported with obvious distress, "we have lost all contact with Ground Force Alpha. Last transmission indicated they were experiencing impossible gravitational conditions and requesting immediate evacuation." Veltar closed his eyes. In 40 years of conquest, he had never lost an entire ground force. The humans had not just defeated his soldiers. They had used the planet itself as a weapon. "Contact the fleet," Veltar ordered. "Request immediate. Counsel with the High Command." Within hours, Veltar was speaking via holographic communication with the leadership of the Zephyrian Empire. The 5 members of the High Command appeared as shimmering blue images in his ship's communication chamber. "Commander Veltar," spoke High Admiral Zarth, the senior member of the Council, "explain the situation on the human world." "Honored Admirals," Veltar began carefully, "the conquest of Earth has encountered unexpected complications. The planet's gravitational field is significantly stronger than most worlds we have conquered. Our forces are experiencing severe operational difficulties." "Are you saying your forces cannot handle primitive humans?" asked another council member. "Sir, the humans are not the problem. The planet itself is fighting us. Earth's gravity makes extended ground operations impossible for our forces. Equipment failure rates are unacceptable, and personnel cannot maintain effectiveness for more than a few hours at a time." High Admiral Zart H. was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question Veltar had been dreading. "Commander, what? Are the energy costs of this conquest compared to the projected resource gains?" Veltar displayed the data he had prepared. The numbers were stark. The energy required to maintain ground operations on Earth exceeded any possible resource extraction from the planet. Even if they succeeded in conquering Earth, the ongoing costs of occupying a high-gravity world would make it a financial disaster. "The mathematics are clear," High Admiral Zart H. announced. "This conquest is not economically viable. Commander Veltar, you are ordered to withdraw all forces from the human world immediately. Sir, with respect, the humans will see this as a victory. It will encourage other worlds to resist us. Let them resist, replied the High Admiral. We will simply avoid high-gravity worlds in the future. There are thousands of suitable low-gravity planets in this galaxy. We do not need to waste resources on worlds that fight back with their own physics. On Earth, President Martinez received the news in the Oval Office. Admiral Karen Davis delivered the report personally. Mr. President, our satellites are detecting massive movement in the alien fleet. They appear to be preparing for departure. President Martinez looked up from his desk in surprise. Departure? Are you sure? Yes, sir. Intelligence suggests they're abandoning the invasion entirely. Dr. Carter's gravitational weapons appear to have convinced them that Earth is not worth conquering. Within 24 hours, the last alien ship disappeared from Earth's sky. The invasion was over, not because humanity had destroyed the invaders, but because Earth itself had made conquest impossible. Dr. Carter stood on the rim of the Grand Canyon, looking down at the battlefield where humanity had won its greatest victory. Captain Morrison joined her, along with General Sullivan and the core team that had developed the gravity-based defense. It's hard to believe, Morrison said. We beat them by being heavy. Carter laughed. We beat them by being home. Every step we take, every movement we make, we do easily because we evolved here. For millions of years, Earth's gravity shaped. U.S. made us strong, made us who we are. When invaders came from the stars,